I'm sure you've all used these guys. Maybe some of those guys. One of these big fellas. One of those. For camping, one of those. But today, we want to talk about this little guy right here. Well, it's a cold day out in the shop. And I wanted to finish up with the idea of probably the world's smallest propane tank. Is it a gimmick? Is it for real? Does it even work? If you watched my last video, I mentioned to you that I was going to show you a piece of tech that might be really good for you. Come back next time when I show you a way to bring propane in a tiny cylinder, not like this, one that's made for it, and that solves all your problems. This is a single block of aluminum that's been milled to be able to stand up to the pressures of propane. Now there's a lot of differences in the gases that we use. They burn pretty much the same except under different conditions. You're familiar with the pound propane cylinder. This is a good old Coleman pound. It's still pretty full. It's been used a little bit. This stuff is about 90 psi in this tank. Now it says on the back here about, penalty, you're not supposed to refill it. I know a lot of people have. I have. The penalty is for transporting it after you fill it. That's what the penalty of law is. You think about it, if you took this to a sporting event somewhere, or you took it to a crowd of people and put it in your buddy burner or whatever it is, and it explodes for some reason, nobody knows what you got in there. Only you know. So you can use it. The problem, of course, is that it's a one-time use, doesn't have a rust preventive on the inside. If you do not fill it correctly, or you get moisture into this, over time you could rust this steel cylinder and cause an explosion at 90 psi. The problem with it is that when people fill them, they're being filled this way. The other tank sits up top. When you fill up a 20-pound tank, it has a float inside it, and it's filled sitting this way. When that liquid inside the tank gets to a certain level, that float turns off the valve and it leaves a space in the top for expansion. You fill it in 40-degree weather, you're sitting out on your deck and it's near 100, your pressure inside the tank is going to double, upwards to 200 psi. That's a lot of pressure. And if you have a weakened tank, or it's been thrown around or tossed around or dented in some way, I don't want this to blow up. I just know that this is dangerous enough for crowds when I don't know what's in it. The person next to me may be really stupid and they put something in it that they shouldn't have put in it. This one's made to handle almost any circumstances where there's propane in this tank. Should handle it fine. The problem you run into is when you start putting propane in one of these tanks or one of these tanks. This gas operates at about 10 to 20 psi. That's it. On a hot day, it could get a little higher. So what if you could just take a propane tank, which we know will burn way below zero. I'm not going to be out there using it if it's way below zero. I'm going to be at home, okay? White gas will work just fine. You have to have a special stove to burn white gas. If you want to use white gas in one of these stoves, you can't do it. It's not made for it. When you turn this upside down, you'll get liquid. If your gas stove does not have a preheat tube, and you will know that because there will be a little a little copper tube that comes right up over the burner. That's your preheat tube. If it doesn't have one, you can't burn this upside down. Not effectively anyway. You could turn it up, but you'll see it do all kind of weird stuff to your flame. What if this could hold pure propane? And it does. I've already filled it. It has a little EN 417 Lindell valve right in the top, and it's extremely strong. It holds 15 grams. I don't even know what that is in ounces, but it's not much. Let me weigh it. And we'll turn this on, zero it out. The whole canister full of propane weighs 4.5 ounces. I can handle that. You say, well, what if you run out of gas? Well, obviously this is actually made to be used in conjunction with a little butane or propane lantern that has a single flame on it. The manufacturer says this being full and a one flame lantern will probably run about 2.5 hours before it burns out. I've run this before out here testing it, and I got about 20 minutes out of it for cooking. I can boil water in 4 minutes. I can make hot enough to make coffee. I can put hot water in my meal pack. If I get 3 or 4 burns out of that, I've covered most of my 1 day or 2 day camping trip, and all I need is this tank. That's the idea. Let's check it out. Because of the Lindell valve, it's just going to go straight on. And I'm going to use my split stove. This is the Bulan BL100, one that I like to use so much. And that's really all you need to cook with. I'm going to show you. There's ice in my water jug. Told you it was cold this morning. Now this is ice cold water. I'm going to show you what it is. I'm going to crank it up. It's going to weigh some gas. That's the beauty of propane. It works really well. Let's see what we got here. I have a counter that's 62, 63. I have a pan that's already over 100. I have a cylinder that's 54 and going down. Let me see what it says. It's now at 41 degrees and dropping. Some people like to use a butane can cover. Now they're pretty. They look nice. They cover up the words and all that kind of stuff. But you got to remember, the cold in the can is coming from inside the can, not from outside. The heat on the outside gets collected by the can and keeps it burning. Remember, if you put a cover over this can, you're keeping the cold in. And if it's already below freezing outside and the can goes down to freezing, you're not helping it any by putting a cover over it. That's all just for looks. There's nothing functional going on. If you don't believe me, look that up, do some reading on that. The can covers do not insulate the can. They might keep them from getting too hot, and that might be a plus on it. Other than that, they look nice. That's about their purpose only. The cold comes from inside the can. It's at 39 degrees and dropping. When I tested it the other day, the canister went down to 17 degrees, and because it was propane, it continued to burn just fine. It can go well below zero and continue to oxidize and give you gas for your fire. This will not. This is even less. I mean, it's good at freezing, and that's about it. Propane is the gas that is the gas of choice for outdoor grills and for camping for a reason. It works really well. Now you might wonder, how well does this work on a non-split stove? Let's see. I got my burner. This is one I like to use. This is really, pretty good for a pocket rocket, I think. I don't even know where mine is. I haven't used it in so long because I like this style burner so much more. Here's the other idea. Is it going to be stable? It has a really small space on it. It's pretty good, but it's a little wobbly. The manufacturer says use a small tripod like this. It goes right into the bottom. It's like any tripod, it takes a moment. Straighten it up, much more stable. Slide it. I really like this burner. This is a no-name brand, Chinese knockoff, and I think it's one of the least expensive and best performing burners that I've run across. I would just as soon cook on this as I would this one, although I think this has a better complete burn to it. You can see that the fire is just right here. If it was all the way across, kind of like this one does, I think that's a better situation. You're not wasting fuel when you're heating water and things like that. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I think this cylinder is too small for what I do if I go camping for a weekend or just an overnight or somewhere. I think it's too small for that. They make a size one up, a little less than this, more than this, And I think that might be the way to go if you're using it for cooking. It really is intended to be used with a lantern. That's kind of what the manufacturers at Camping Moon was trying to do with it. So this is Mike with Mike's Wild World with the world's smallest propane cylinder. You should give it a try, see what you think. Let me know what you think about all this rigmarole here with the testing and the gas and all that kind of stuff. And subscribe if you can. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Like and subscribe if you can, and leave a comment. It's a wild world, so get out there, and thanks for watching.